Poppy, thanks so much for joining. For the audience who is not initiated in the concept, walk us through tapping and kind of how it relates to creatives.
Mm, yeah, lots of people don't know about it, but it's basically like the secret weapon to getting your creative flow going and a solution to kind of any of that day to day stress, procrastination,
Mm,
beliefs that come up when you actually want to tap into your creativity. So, yeah, it's kind of easier to try it, I would say, Jeff,
yeah,
because it's kind of weird. Um,
I love weird.
Yeah. But it works.
Yeah.
It sounds weird, but it is actually rigorously and clinically proven over hundreds and hundreds of trials since 1980 when a psychologist in the States, I'm in the UK, as you know, happened upon it because he started using Western and Eastern, for want of a better thing than generalizing,
Hmm.
together. So he was using acupuncture, interested in acupressure, points invisible energy in the body at the same time as doing kind of more traditional psychotherapy and talking therapy and all of the counseling and all that. So it's now become what some people call energy psychology. I
Hmm.
kind of call it tapping. Because the idea is that you're basically using ancient wisdom but also more modern neuroscience and working with your own kind of brain and feelings. Yeah.
Yes, love that. Where do we start?
Well, it might be worth almost sort of me trying it or attempting to sort of show you it and
I,
everyone
I
else here.
Well, I think we're mostly, I'm not speaking, but mostly for the collective we. I think we're best when we see something in action rather than just trying to describe a concept. Also, we've really never gone through a demonstration in this entire podcast, and we're 40 plus
Yeah.
episodes in. So let's go.
Whoa, let's do it. Okay. I'll try my best.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Me too.
Yeah.
Have no idea
You
what's going to
right.
happen next.
Basically, it's really fun. So it works very quickly. Rapid tapping is my form of my approach to traditional tapping, in that you
Hmm.
use it every day for a little bit of time and you have a very clear way of using it. Obviously, I've got an app, so those on there. I'll show you
Hmm.
one. You basically
Yeah.
pick how you're feeling, and then you feel a bit better, more creative, more in the flow after, right? So, probably, Jaff, you can like lead us in and we can make it about you. So
Mm.
maybe there is a way you feel that you'd like to feel right now. Like, what would you like to feel like right now?
More organized.
Yeah, okay. That's cool. And what would that bring you if you were more organized?
More clarity, more ability to not feel like I'm procrastinating, not feel like I'm um, leaving something out.
Mm, yeah, totally. And I get that. I think that would be useful for me too right now. Probably everyone. So we'll
Yeah, I
start
kept it
with that.
general.
Yeah. So let's start with the way it works in rapid tapping, which is basically there would be an affirmation, a statement that
Hmm.
is that. And then we would do a technique where we say it and then we score it. So, for example, let's keep it really simple. And let's say, I am feeling in creative flow,
Yeah.
right? That's kind of like the antithesis of that. Um, so let's try it. So we can put our hands like over our heart, just one on top of the other.
Hmm.
And this is super simple. You would literally just say it. So let's say it. I'll say it and you can say it after me. And then you're going to
Done.
score it out of 100. So just very gut reaction, right? Intuitive gut reaction out of 100. How much do you believe it right now? It doesn't matter if it's low. So
Okay.
let's say it together. So I am full
I'm
of
feel.
creative flow.
I am full of creative flow. 72.
Nice. Okay. So then we go, okay, cool. So we have the intention that can go up.
Absolutely.
So we're going to intend for that to go up. So we'll do a little rapid tapping together. So now we move our hands to what's called the three step, three A's. And what you do is you push. So you basically butterfly your hands out, go
Mm-hmm.
down a couple of inches from your collarbone, and
Yep.
push quite hard in. So when you feel that it's a bit tense, sore, you've got the right spot. Is
Mm-hmm.
that if you?
Oh, I'm
Yeah.
there. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, good. This is good. This is kind of balancing your nervous system, like regulating
Mm-hmm.
your nervous system, sort of slowing you down for a second. And then we're going to say a couple of bits now. So when you think about being in that full creative flow, what came up that made you feel like, no, I'm not? I mean, you said maybe not so organized. What else?
Honestly, it's the morning here. And so sometimes I'm not in the full creative flow until I've, had 2 cups of coffee and everything's going, or all the synapses are firing. Like in my business, like it's all about connecting dots and relationships. So I have to start kind of thinking about how I'm doing that. So it's
Mm,
not one of those things where I can just pick up and start going. I kind of have to ramp into it.
got it. Right. So maybe just a little bit of grogginess, I would call it, or tiredness. Should we go for that?
Yeah, caffeine dependent for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah. People call this like a shot of coffee. So you're in luck.
Okay,
Gives
good,
you
good,
energy.
good, good.
Okay, so we're going for energy, creative energy. So you're going to say this with me. So we just acknowledge anything that's in the way of that statement being fully true. So first of all,
Hmm.
we're going to say this. I feel some tiredness.
I feel some tiredness.
Yeah, not quite there yet
Not quite there yet.
because it's morning.
Definitely because it's morning.
Yeah, but it is possible for me
It's possible for me
to feel more energized now.
to feel more energized now.
Yeah, good. Simple. So that's the first thing. And you'll notice just like straight away, there's like a bit of like, oh yeah, okay. I've acknowledged, I've given it a reason, I accepted it, and then I'm going to affirm the rest of my day based on all the information your body stores about feeling energized, which might or might not come with some coffee or some tapping.
It's the intentional time that we don't take to acknowledge how we're feeling and how we're about to attack the day. Yes.
You got it. Yeah. So then we're going to go for the actual tap. So this is like two hands,
Okay.
fingertips, and then you're going to tap basically on all these different points and do a couple of moves with me, energy moves. So you're going to
I'm
tap
into it.
here and you're going to say this.
All right.
So
Right
you
above the
can't get this
nose.
wrong.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's like eyebrow points. Yeah.
Eyebrow
There.
points. Yeah.
And you would tap. You got it.
Mm-hmm.
And you will say after me again, I'll cue you in because it's important what we're saying. I feel a bit tired
I feel a bit tired
because it's morning.
because it's morning. Now we're on the temples.
That's right. So you see, every time we move around, we're saying something. So you go, yes, it's morning.
Yes, it's morning.
And on this one, you're kind of moving like this under your eye and around. That's
Yep.
it. Because this is actually very good for your skin. Yeah. So it's boosting
We'll take that too.
your
Absolutely.
skin. So you get
Added benefit.
that. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. And then under your nose, we're going to say this. But I can be creative.
But I can be creative.
I'm good at being creative.
I'm good at being creative.
Yeah. Just need a bit more energy.
Yeah, just need a bit more energy.
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 Yeah. So
Now
when you
we're
say
tapping the chest.
feeling a bit more energy. So now I just want you to get that in your body a bit. So we're going to just move, maybe like shake your shoulders out.
Mm-hmm.
And then we're going to do what's known as a head hug. So we're going to rub our hands together. This is really good, just to like bring energy to the body.
All right, we're rubbing our
And
hands together.
rub our hands together. And then you're going to
Yeah.
bring the hands up a little higher. So
Yep. A little
I
above the
want you to
head.
above the head and then just like feel a little bit longer than you want. Like I want your arms to slightly burn.
Mm-hmm. Okay, good. We're getting a workout in too.
Yeah.
A little bit for the triceps, everyone.
Yeah. And in a minute, I'll do a 3, 2, 1 countdown. And when I do, you'll put one hand on your forehead and one hand on the back of your head. Now, you'll
Okay.
just hold and you'll just
Okay.
feel the energy go through your body and you'll just say energy. Yeah? Are you with me?
I am with you.
All
All
right.
every step of the way.
Here we go then. Three,
Okay.
2, 1, energy.
Energy. Yeah. Hand on the front of the head, hand on the back of the head.
And just hold. You got it?
We're holding.
Take a breath here, like maybe breathe out. Really good. And then shake out your hands like
Okay.
that. Wiggle
Yep. We're
around a
shaking them
bit.
out.
Yeah, we're shaking them out. And then you can bring your hands back where we started. And you can just sort of notice, oh, I feel, a bit of a different state of being. How do you feel at the
Mm-hmm.
moment?
Better. Understanding the benefit of intentional time.
Yeah, that's it. And the words that you say and the tapping and energy techniques that you've used are kind of realigning your energy,
Mm-hmm.
and giving you that sense of power because it's up to you. So now we're just going to say again and see if your score's gone up. So that's the kind of score thing. So we'll just
Mm-hmm.
say this: I am full of creative flow.
I am full of creative flow. I'd say 85. It's coming around.
Yay! Nice one.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, perfect. And
Look
that's it.
at
Simple as
that.
that.
That is,
Yeah.
well, I mean, that is incredibly simple, right? And I'm sure there will be some people that are like, well, you can't, yeah, no, you can't just tap a couple things on your body and feel it. I'm a firm believer, even if I do not know the science, right? Even if I do not know anything else, you can feel that. You can feel that if you are invigorating your senses and just taking some intentional time for yourself, even if that's the lesson, right? But yeah, we'll definitely turn that into a video so that people can see me doing all kinds of different maneuvers. But I tried. I was trying to, like, we have a mostly not visual audience, so I was like, I have to make sure I'm telling you where your hands should be right now.
You're
So,
really good with
but
that. You did very well with that.
that's good. I was trying to be mindful while also being mindful. So lots
Yeah.
of mindfulness. But no, that's helpful to kind of walk through that. So then we can kind of have a deeper discussion of it. Poppy, how did you get started in this?
Hmm. Yeah, well, I will say tapping is like the kind of one of the key mechanisms I use, but the kind of, I suppose, the bigger picture for me is about tapping in, I call it. It's my name of my
Mm-hmm.
book, like tapping in and what that means. And for me, there's like two layers that kick that off. Um, the earliest one is actually because I grew up in a family that were really into mindset
Okay.
and creativity and positive belief.
Mm-hmm.
And that was always really entrenched in me. Like this idea of creating your own reality was a big deal. And my dad actually proved to me that you could create kind of magical results from the power of your mind, your energy, for what you
Mm-hmm.
think and say. So he actually had a really rare cancer and he got it when he was 30.
Mm.
And that was like a big, huge change. I'm an entrepreneur, he was an entrepreneur. And unfortunately, it meant that he had developed this stage 4 cancer and he was given like 10 days to get his
Mm.
affairs in order. It sounds sad, but my parents' response to that was basically, okay, let's look at our mindset, our nutrition. Let's get creative because that's all they had. There was no medical help
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
And, I'm really pleased to say that what I witnessed was the fact that he managed to get better. And no one really, to be honest, knew why. my
Hmm.
reasoning for it, and I know his was actually very important, this intentionality, like you mentioned it, like this something of that level where he managed to live for nearly 20 more years, right?
Mm.
With this prognosis that really should have been dead. And he got better. He ran marathons. He started businesses. He sort of worked with people. Paint. You know, he's an artist. I was like, wow, that really proves to me that there's this the power of the imagination, the power of creativity, the power of visualization, mental rehearsal, all of these things. A lot of them are science. Was mega. So for me, that was always part of why I even did my first career in creativity. And then tapping was just one of the things that I thought, this is my thing. You know, when you get that, Jeff, it's like, this just
Mm.
feels right to me to share now as my thing. And it is. Yeah.
I felt that way about Twitter for a long time, and then now I don't. But I know what you mean. Like the
Huh?
first week I got on Twitter, I was like, yes, this is a thing for me. I know exactly what to do with it. I will make the same thing with Vine. RIP to both.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. Not me. Not me. Yeah.
mm-mm.
Yeah. I was kind of like that on Instagram. But
Yeah, you do really well on Instagram. Yeah,
yeah, I like Instagram. I
yeah.
really do.
That definitely fits better for the nature. It's kind of interesting, like the nature of technology and the nature of what you're doing, right?
Yeah.
If this was a more of a text-based social media age, it doesn't apply to this as much. Now that we can
Mm.
you easily activate Instagram or TikTok or other platforms or YouTube, that it allows you, because this is very much something that needs to be seen or heard to kind of fully tap into it and define it and understand it. I think the universality is that everybody's always looking for something, right? I don't think there
Yeah.
is a person on earth that isn't looking for something to help get um, the day more in order, or have a better way of navigating time.
Yeah. Totally. And I think, things that are quick are things that we like just as humans right now. So that also helps.
What's a so the difference between tapping and rapid tapping? Like, what's the difference in time?
I do both. So traditional tapping, was first called thought field therapy, TFT.
Hmm.
It was quite complicated. It was about algorithms, about how our organs connect to
Mm.
different places that we tap, and then that got simplified into EFT, emotional freedom technique, and then that's very much is perfect and brilliant for specific issues. So you'd work with a practitioner like me, and I used to be frightened of dogs. I got rid of that. Like public speaking. More kind of issue led, traumatic things, right?
Hmm.
I'm not frightened of dogs anymore. That is my dog. I might get him out of here because I did. um,
There you
Want to
go.
get out? That's actually a good time to get this dog out. Right. Um, yeah. So that and
I'm totally
yeah,
leaving that in. This is
tapping was
wonderful.
just more creative because I was using it like every day, and
Hmm.
I was using it more for energy and to get myself into flow state, to get myself like a bit more of an edge before I would do a talk, or I'd work with people and
Yeah.
I'd be like. So it's short. Everything's under 10 minutes in rapid tapping, and we're concerned about tapping in a state of being rather than tapping out an issue, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. I mean, as the Shorty Awards, we can deeply respect anything that is shorter, more
Yeah.
compact, and easier to align with. But I think the other thing is that there's a just like people say on a website, right? If you have to go through multiple clicks to get somewhere, it's going to be tough. There's friction. If you're going to have to spend an hour on something, it's going to be tougher to get to it rather than. So I deeply understand the idea behind rapid tapping and being able to get into something faster, because that gives a better chance of somebody creating a habit rather than, an hour is hard. 10 minutes is doable.
That's right. Wow. It's so true, isn't it? I was watching a film the other day, like Late to the Party, Oppenheimer. Heard of it?
Mm,
Yes.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
As I finally watched it and I was like, this is great, but whoa, it is actually 3.5 hours. And I was like, I don't actually think I've watched something that long for a long time.
I think the worst thing that happened to somebody with ADHD, myself, is that you have the ability to watch things at home. You have the ability to pause. If I go to the theater, I am stuck. I am there. I am watching. If I have the ability to pause, every movie is a 7 to 10 day event for me. Because I'm like, I've got something else to do, so I've watched 20 minutes of it, or, it's like because we have so much content, and because I can access it at any time, I have a wide library of things that I've watched like 26 minutes of.
Wow.
I still
Yeah.
don't know the ending of Cocaine Bear. I want to.
I
I
could
think.
probably guess it for you.
I think we both know the ending because it's accurately and unfortunately based on a true story,
Yeah.
with a lot of liberties taken, obviously, because it wasn't a horror film. Um, so what? So you talk about kind of the basis behind tapping of getting through things and getting through dogs. Me, last year was conquering escalators. Sounds small, but it is a thing.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
what um what do you think are the barriers, that creatives, or the common barriers you see that creatives put up, or people put up in general, that just kind of stop them from getting to where they need to be, stop them from achieving, kind of how we as people just get in our own way?
Mm, the age old question. Look, I mean, I say everything is about if you really boil it down, it's about belief. Belief in yourself, belief in your potential, belief in the world as a collective. And, you know, there's like this flow in life, I think, where it's like, okay, we have thoughts, loads of
Hmm.
them, 1,000 a day, neuroscience tells us. And you can't control those, they just happen, right? That moves on to feelings. So there is a point at which you repeat a thought over and over again, and it becomes a body feeling. Other people don't quite notice that yet, but you feel it. So that becomes like your habit. So sometimes those thoughts are good for us, sometimes those thoughts are not. When you've done that feeling for a long time, when you feels like it's a default, then it's like rammed in your subconscious belief system. It's like that is an energy, that's a frequency. That's
Hmm.
when I think it's interesting, like human nature, because you can actually change that much easier than you think you can by interrupting things at that level. And then, obviously, when you've got an energy for something, when you've got momentum behind something as a creative, then you're taking action from there, right? So sometimes that energy is funky and off and weird, and then our actions are sort of following suit to that, and then our
Hmm.
results come from that, and then we're like, man, nothing's working, or
Yeah.
and so then it's kind of like, well, where can we interrupt that pattern and change the energy? You change your energy, you really do change your results in whatever it is, I reckon.
I agree with that. It's finding better ways to trigger motivation and trigger your energy, right?
Yeah, because motivation is like, I used to really believe in motivation. Now I don't know so much because willpower, we know that willpower is great in the morning and then it dwindles away all day. That's just a fact. When I was writing my book, I was looking into a lot. I like science. I'm a bit of a nerd, as
Yeah.
well as I like, a lot of this ancient wisdom stuff too. And I was like, oh, that's rubbish. Like motivation, multitasking, all of these things that we think make us like great human beings are actually really hard to hold on to. So we end up then like bullying ourselves, going like, ah,
Hmm.
didn't manage to do it, didn't manage to do that. And then our creativity dwindles as a result.
Well, I think we don't, and again, this is me hypothesizing without looking at the science, but I think we don't account for when we're doing all these things that talk about, motivation and hustle culture, right? We're not introducing the variable of stress or anything else that comes through that day. So yes, it's very easy to be like, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z today. Um, okay, but what's being thrown at you? What do you have, what variables do you have to dodge, what other distractions are going to come in? And so I think that's part of part of where motivation fails, right? It's there's a spectrum of like what's motivating and what makes you passionate about something too. And if you're passionate about something, then I think you can override stress more than if you're just trying to fake or tell yourself that you're motivated, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. And I think it's actually acknowledging the stress triggers that we don't do very well as human beings. And we have a tendency to plow on and think it's like this badge of like, yeah, like you're saying, woohoo, I'm carrying on anyway. I got willpower, I got motivation. And of course we need that when, rough times, great. And you need a certain amount of stress. But we definitely don't need to be in a place where creative flow doesn't exist because we haven't got any space around, you know, ourselves as humans.
Yeah, and I think it's also recognizing, not to go down too much of a rabbit hole, but it's also recognizing what environment lets you thrive the most. For me, distraction is a big issue. So, I moved from a city of 1 million to 40,000. I, obviously will, can still go into a room and still talk to 20,000 if I need to. I can still tap into that
Yeah.
part of myself when needed. But if I'm worried about what I'm going to get done day to day, the less things available, the less distractions, the better. That's not true for everyone, but I think it's
Mm.
recognizing what environment allows you to thrive, and then trying to focus on fostering and creating that.
Yeah, exactly. I love that. And I think focus is a great word. I often say like focus on the focus because
Hmm.
sometimes it's the quality of the focus. Like it's not just focus because you could focus on something and be like, I
Sure.
focus. Um, you know, and you can focus on something and you can notice the quality of that as well, right?
When you first started doing this, when did it I mean, it clicked for you because it became a focus area. But when did you start to feel momentum happening with it?
Mm, yeah. Well, I first of all came into it because I was going through. So my career has always been like, when you have like an Achilles heel in your life, or you have like the really great bit. So the career for me was the really great bit, right? I was like
Hmm.
youngest producer of TV. I was this and that. I won a creativity competition with a newspaper. I got in my career and I worked my ass off, and I was like, I'm actually good at this. This is great. This is a job. Developing ideas for TV shows. Woohoo! Let's go.
Heck
Worked my
yeah.
way up. Watched the BAFTAs. I was like, I can do this. What I totally sort of left by the wayside was my relationship. I got married very young, had a child, did that all through my career. But at the same time, I would say, okay, that didn't really work out. And I got into tapping first of all, and it gave me the first bit of momentum that it gave me was like, oh yeah, I can actually get in and do my job and run my teams and stuff without feeling so stressed. And to be honest, like, what am I going to do in my life now? I was this, and now I'm like, bleh.
Yeah.
That was the first time I was like, oh, this really works. This tapping stuff works. When I kind of like rebuilt all that and reorganized and recreated all that, I would say manifested a new reality for myself around that time, which was a long time ago now. It was like 2010. Um, then I started going, actually, I'm using this with people, this tapping, and I'm using it to create what you want with what you say and the things that you say to yourself and the things that you say are possible. So that's when I noticed there was something in it that was way bigger than just me getting through stress and
Hmm.
tension. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That was exciting to me. Yeah.
And so this has been a while. Is there ever an exhaustion and like, okay, I have to explain this?
No, I love it. I,
Okay,
I
good.
feel like it's so cool. Like it, I feel like this is now my mission to help people understand this technique that is readily available if you work out how it works for you. So I like talking about it.
It's interesting how, well, obviously readily available, like easy to do. Sometimes the things that are easiest to do, but involve like internal and recognizing our own feelings are like the hardest things to do for people. How do you get somebody who might be skeptical or might not want to take the time to take the time?
Mm. Well, look, that was me, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, fair.
to be honest, it was me. I mean, my mum said to me, this is in my book as well. I was like, oh man, I don't want to do this. This is weird. I just want to crack on and get some. It's just
Hmm.
weird. So I understand that, and I quite like the cynics, right? I like them because I get it, and I am kind of one in a way. Uh, I would say the best thing to do is with anything, try it. Notice that it has a metric to it. You're going to feel a certain way before, and you're going to feel a certain way after. We as humans work well with metrics to show progress.
Hmm.
Check the progress. Go, am I creating more opportunities in my life by using this? And if the answer is yes, and I would say by and large, I'm going to make up this. This is not fact. 90% of people that I've worked with tell me, oh my goodness, this is in one way or another, in all the different aspects of my life, whether it's work or love or whatever, it is helping me. And then you notice that when we see evidence for something, when you see evidence, you go, yeah, all right, I'll do it. We don't want to do things that don't work, and that's fair enough. If it didn't work, I wouldn't be
Yeah.
banging on about it.
That makes complete sense. I'm an open cynic. I'm open to trying anything, right? I do not want to denounce anything. That's why I like that we got to try this. And like one of the things I will do is I'll try this for a couple weeks, and check in with the audience and let everybody know where I'm at. Did the follow up I wanted to ask was, okay, if one thing opened up to you, did you maintain your sense of cynicism with other things? Did you become more open because this opened up for you, or where did you fall on that spectrum?
Yeah. I think the thing with me is that when I realized I had more agency
Mm.
in the thoughts that I was thinking on default, I became like this very almost spiritual woman who was like, wow, I have agency over the thoughts that I'm thinking. And for so long, I didn't know because I wasn't taught that that was not like that was in my remit, that I was able to change that. Neuroplasticity, one of them,
Yeah.
because we can change our brain, we can change our beliefs. And when you change your beliefs, that's when, yeah, the whole world opens up because you go, well, everything that I believe eventually, like I was saying, that flow, thoughts, feelings, action, you know, wow, that's important. You can do all the actions, right? But with the true creativity comes from like, I would call it pivoting into your inner power, like the power that we have to affect what we think.
Yeah, and this is much less aggressive than like psilocybin or other other
Yeah.
things too. You can access this pretty easily. You have your own thoughts. They're there. They're
Yeah.
ready. Yeah. Um, are there any things that you are like? Okay, so treatments in this field. Are there any things that you are skeptical of?
Mm.
I know the hard hitting
Skeptical.
journalism.
Yeah, look at you. Investigative me.
No, but
Um,
that's the thing I'm always curious about. I'm constantly curious about. It's just
yeah.
because I think you're right. Like you see some things work, right, and you follow those, and then sometimes, and again, it's all perspective. You
Yeah.
ask a bunch of people, and they'll be like, "This works, this works, this works." Yeah, it's based on our lived experience, but yeah, if is there anything that you look at, and it can be outside of
Mm.
neuroplasticity and psychology, but is there anything that you look at and go, no, not for me?
I mean, to be honest, I'm struggling because I will try anything
Fair.
if
Yeah.
if it delivers the evidence back to me. And I'm trying to think what I've used. I mean, I've used NLP. I mean, I'm a practitioner of NLP. I believe
Hmm.
in Europe. I really believe that the power of the word is very important. how we reframe things. I'm also a hypnotherapist. Don't do that so much, but I am one. And at times I was pretty much like, man, what's that? Now I'm like, oh yeah, that's really got its place, because you're hijacking into subconscious belief that you can't get to by thinking.
Sure.
So there's probably, I mean, no. I mean, even sonic sound, Reiki, all of it, I've
Mm.
gone into and looked at. The power of sound, I'm really big on. Frequency, we're all energy, right? We are a
Yeah, yeah.
frequency. So sound was the beginning of all. Sound is huge, hertz and frequencies. So I quite like that. Don't know if you've got into
You
that.
you said the magic word Reiki because when I was a teen, I got certified in it because, and this is a longer drawn out story, but there's a reason for it. Um, my dad was a wedding photographer, and he was like, "Well, you know what, Jeff? We're gonna need someone just in case the officiant doesn't show up. We're gonna need somebody who's ordained, so that they can perform the wedding." And I'm like, "Dad, I don't think anybody's going to want a 17-year-old kid that they don't know to come up and be the officiant of their perfect, wonderful day." He's like, you just never know. It's a service we want to offer. So I'm like, bet. Okay. So then I went, got certified. So the easiest, best place I could get certified was this church that also had, a Reiki class associated. So I had to go through a couple things, had to do a Reiki class. And just imagine a 17-year-old kid who was like, no, I don't want to do any of this. And then I did that, and like, I felt something from it. Not a ton, like I'm not a practitioner. But I was like, I get it. I understand it. So I went in like super skeptical, just normal, petulant teen, and came out going, oh, okay, interesting. I understand it. So I have a laminated card somewhere. I think my mom just found it recently, that says, I'm certified. I probably need to get recertified, obviously, but yeah.
Wow, I did not expect that.
I didn't think you would, but you said the magic word. Nobody has ever said Reiki in this podcast before, so if somebody ever was to say that, I think I have like 20 magic words in this podcast that if somebody says them, it will draw out some weird story from my past, and I'm just waiting. So yeah,
Oh,
we got
wow.
there.
Well, I unlocked one of those. Reiki unlocked.
Yeah, but that was I think I agree too. Like, I grew up in a pretty relaxed, like coastal community, so with a lot of different things, a lot of different ideas around me, so I was very open to things. But I think if anything, you get more skeptical as you get older because you get set. Um,
Do you think
and
so? Do you think so? Do you think that's like the mindset? Because that's what it is, isn't it? Mindset. Your set of beliefs, it's set, it's a mind.
I think it's more so that we get in routine, and routine is hard to break, right? And I think one of the things that I see benefit, right, in rapid tapping is that you're trying to trigger something and break routine, right? I
Mm.
think a lot of us either it's positive or negative reinforcement, right? If you're constantly told you can't do something, people respond to that in one of two ways, right? They go, yeah, I can't, or they're like, no, I want to take it on harder, right? If something that's even a bad habit is positively reinforced in some way, then that becomes something that you wind up doing more. So I think it's not that our minds close off as much as our routines get shaped more, and it's harder to break. Just again, a
Yeah.
hypothesis.
No, I really love that. I think that's it. You've got it in a nutshell there. Because then we're going for the familiar, even
Yeah.
if that's not expansive for us. We are then wired to go, oh, I'll do that again. The really interesting thing I always find very cool is that we know that sort of 90-95% of our thoughts are subconscious, they're default. But what really blew my mind was that the same kind of figure, around 90% of our thoughts in any one day, are the same as yesterday's.
Yeah.
And so it goes to show you've got to break routine. You've got to interrupt and do these different things, even if it's like I'll try and go a different route in to see someone, because I'm like, it opens up new thought avenues for me, like quite literally in the brain. I'm not a
Hmm.
neuroscientist, but I like it, right? So I think you're right, because it's you get in those habits of yesterday. Those habits yesterday were the day before that, day before that.
Yeah.
You've got to do new fun things if you're a creative to open up new pathways.
Yeah, whether it's working in a different spot, even right, just having new scenery around you. That's a big thing that I do subconsciously. Like I don't think about it, but I can't really work in the same spot for too long or for the same
Okay.
day, even though those spots might be similar, and I might just be varying those. Yeah, I
Mm.
think when you're early in your career, you just don't have feedback yet. So there isn't, that 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 feedback isn't there to allow you to then know that you touched a hot stove, right?
Yeah.
But the interesting thing about those impulses is, right, they can be false, they can be incorrect, they can be one of the things I've kind of processed over time, right, is that um, when you hear the word no or you don't get what you want in your career, it is it is and it isn't a reflection of you. It is in that you can definitely learn something from it, and that there's probably something you can change or make better, but
Mm.
that it's not solely about you. It is also, there's another human on the other end of that decision making process who is going through whatever they're going through that day. Um, and sometimes you have the good fortune of they're in a good state. Your idea is right, everything works. And sometimes that variable can be incorrect.
Yes. And sadly, we can't control all of it, but we can
No.
obviously control the way that we perceive the meaning we place on it, and that's in our power. That's the powerful bit. Even if someone on the other end of that is not into what we're into, it's still up to us to kind of perceive that and go, okay, cool. I can deal with that. I mean, that's a good one with tapping, right? If you're
Yeah.
angry or if you're like frustrated or something's not working, it's about, well, I'll just tap that because that's going to bring me back to set point again, and maybe better than that.
Yeah, one of my toxic traits is definitely if I put a lot of energy into something and I get a no, I don't immediately go try that again. I might take a year long hiatus from trying that exact thing again. When in actuality, I've put so much time, effort, and energy into that. I could probably just repackage that somewhere else and keep the momentum moving. But it's one of those things where I'm trying to vocalize it to the audience because I'm not good at dealing with setback necessarily. I am in totality. I am because again, if you're a PR person, my God,
Yeah,
every day is a setback. Every
absolutely.
day, every day is a
Yeah,
no.
rejection.
Every day is either a polite or an impolite no. Um, but see, that's a different kind of rejection than personal, right? Reject an idea all you want. I don't care. I have built up whatever calluses are necessary for that. Reject me, and I go, all right. Well, I'll see you in 2026.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah. But I also think that the funny thing about that is we used to have to be like jack of all trades, and that was the
yeah,
thing, wasn't it? Like, become a middle manager, work you out, be good at
hmm,
everything. I think
yep,
there's something in what you're saying because, actually, why do you have to do that again? Why can't you just do what you love, what you're passionate about, where the energy is, and get really, really good at that?
yeah.
Like, is there anything wrong with that? I sometimes think that's how you get like supercharged by just getting super good at your thing. And actually, what you say no to yourself is where the
Mhm.
power is.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I'm right. I'm having realizations right now, but I think that's the other thing too is I think we all kind of present one version of ourselves. Could be optimistic, could be pessimistic, but it's not necessarily where we are internally, right? And if we're like tapping, that's really getting to the core of who we are. I don't believe that we that's getting into vulnerability, right? It's tough for us to show vulnerability. It depends on what you're doing, right? If you're a solo creator, I think it's a little easier. If you're in an organization, vulnerability can be or it cannot be a weakness depending on where you are and who you are.
Mm.
And I think
Yeah.
it's with different people's lived experience, like asking them to show vulnerability is tougher.
I think now as a solo creator, it's a strength,
Absolutely.
right?
Absolutely. On that
You're
side, for
absolutely
sure.
right. That is the joy of being able to do that now. It's like you get to communicate your unique flair, like whatever this unique messenger bit of you is. And it's just like, yeah, it's usually the people that just say stuff without
Hmm.
overthinking it that you're like, yeah, okay, I just want to hang out with you. Yeah, their energy is real, whether it's good or bad. Their energy is real. So you go, yeah, okay.
I think one of my learnings too in this podcast and kind of meeting people who are similar but yet different, right? Similar in mindset, different in execution, is that multiple different fields can be very varied. You might not see the similarities unless you start having the same conversation over and over again. But what I've noticed about creators that are good at building an audience that can get people around a topic, it tends to be the ones who are vulnerable. I think we've reached a shift in where I think a generation ago or a generation and a half ago, it was more about how can I showcase, you know, awesome lifestyle, right? Or how can I showcase that I'm the preeminent expert on this, right? Expertise is important because you need to establish trust. But I think there was always this I'm at the top of the hill. And this new version of you know vulnerable creator allows people to feel like, okay, you have expertise, but I also can trust you and I can understand where you're coming from, and it makes it easier for me to engage with that idea.
Hmm. Yeah. It's kind of like the vulnerable, the protagonist, isn't it? The kind of, um, yeah, I'm wounded.
Yeah.
And it's okay because actually that's what we can relate to. I mean, part of my work is also helping people understand that they can give themselves permission to
Yeah.
be vulnerable and acknowledge all of those things as a real superpower. Emotions are superpowers because emotions are all energy in motion. It's something that I think as a world now we can't really suppress because we know that that leads to all sorts of stuff like bad for our bodies, bad for our minds, vices, all of the stuff. So it's got to be
Yeah.
done.
I like the illusion, right? And if we bring this full circle to your career and content, right? The vulnerable protagonist, because we accept that type of character, right? We accept the vulnerable protagonist. I can list off at least a dozen right now. So if we accept that, then clearly we accept that in other forms. Poppy, when I close these, I do something called keep it short. You'll appreciate it with rapid tapping. Three questions. The answers can be as long as you want, but the questions are short. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, Poppy. Question number one. Um, Moment you felt most excited in your entire life.
I The first thing that comes to my mind with that question is I did my degree and I went to pick up my degree and I found out I'd got like a first class and I was like, yes, but I had my baby in my arms and I was
Yeah.
like, yeah, I did it. I did it. We can do really hard things because I did that. And it was an excitement and that is what came to mind with that question.
That's wonderful. Question two. What do you think holds people back the most?
This can be a very short answer. Their beliefs.
Yeah. Yeah. And that can be, again, those are calluses and things formed over time, right? That can be based on correct or incorrect information, right? It's on a spectrum. Um, Question three. What does success look like in 10 years?
Ooh, I love this one.
Okay, good.
I love this one. Right. I'm just nestling into this one. Yeah, because it's redefined already. It's redefining
Hmm.
as we go. I believe that success will be an all round, holistic way of looking at enjoyment and purpose in life that comes from not a place that we've been used to, which is essentially, okay, money, work. I believe that those things are relevant, important. I'm the first person to help people to get more of those things. But I believe success in 10 years, and I'm not going to bring up AI. Okay,
That's fine.
but I will a little bit because obviously the
Oh, you
world will
can.
change, right? Okay, let
Yeah.
me just say, okay, so emotions
Hmm.
in my world in 10 years will equal success because that is the one thing that, we will always have.
Yes.
And making sure that we have the emotional enjoyment levels and purpose in each area of life. So, for example, relationships with other people that you're with, your friends, your family, love, sex, your environment where you spend your time, all of those things as well, I believe will become success metrics that we build our life around and that become our indicators of like potential, ultimate potential, really. Ultimate creativity is also, in my book, about a sort of spiritual higher power that we are able
Mm.
to be vulnerable to. So it won't necessarily be work for work's sake. It will be, well, how is my spiritual connection to what I'm doing being fulfilled? That to me is ultimate creativity, ultimate. Yeah.
What I loved about that is you're the first person to answer that for society as a whole and not themselves, which automatically makes that question. See, sometimes I'll ask a question and I'm not sure exactly what I'm going to get. I have an inclination, right? And so it's a basic question, right? I just had a feeling you were going to answer it differently than most, which makes things fun, which makes things variable. You never know what's going to
Yeah.
happen next in life. That's what makes
No.
things fun, right? Yes, spontaneity, surprise and emotion. Yeah, interesting that can actually be a differentiator going forward. But you're right.
Mm,
Everything that is a differentiator, going forward or right now, is a response to what we're constantly being shown. So if it's inherent in the word, right? If it's
mm,
different than what you expect, it's a differentiator.
mm,
Poppy, this was wonderful. Thank you so much for taking the time.
mm. Brilliant. Thanks for having me, Jeff.